So, second day in Amsterdam. Here I stayed at a hostel for a different experience. As always, very windy. It's very cloudy, but today it isn't raining. Look what an advancement we have. Here, at least from what I've learned about the Netherlands, the fact it isn't raining means pretty much it's sunny. It's the best you will get. And I've just met also two Brazilians at my hostel. I've also met I met like an Egyptian. I met a guy from Malaysia, for example. Is my gimbal working correctly? I don't know. I get the feeling it's not locking onto me. Oh, okay, it is. And so here I'm walking through my neighborhood and I've booked a walking tour at 1:30. And so it's currently almost midday. And until then, I think I would either wander aimlessly throughout the city or go to the Vondel Park or something like that and get to see a bit of the city's greenery. Staying at a hostel has been an interesting, not a hostel. I have been at many hospitals, but that's not the case right now. Staying at a hostel has been an interesting experience. It's not entirely uncomfortable. I mean, it reminds me a lot of capsule beds. You have a very small place where you just get to lay down and sleep. And if you're going to spend most of your day walking around the city anyway, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make that much of a difference. But I think some things that should be taken into consideration is that it's not a hotel, and that manifests in like some two or three ways. Not so much regarding where we sleep, because, like I said, it may not be that comfortable. Ultimately, we're going to be sleeping anyway. It's not really noisy or anything like that. But it's far harder, for example, to become organized. I, for example, brought a large suitcase. I came all the way from Brazil and I had both my overcoat and I had my suit and I had my shoes. And so I brought a really large suitcase here, which must have weighed something like 15 kilograms. That's perfectly fine for an international travel, but there's definitely not enough place in my room for everyone to bring one of them. So I was pretty lucky that most people are traveling with less luggage than me. Because if everyone had a large suitcase, there would absolutely not be enough place for everyone to open it. So from this point of view, I was lucky, but beware that my room here at the hostel, which I share with like 12 people, is, I would say, significantly smaller than my hotel room in Rotterdam. Which, when you are trying to get things organized, like for example, open your suitcase to get which clothes are clean or dirty, and try to, for example, stash things you've bought or things that you found, it gets messy much more quickly because you don't have like a table to spread everything over. Second point, you have to make your own bed, for example. You are expected to do it. That might not be a problem. I make my own bed at my own house. However, here, for example, if you're arriving very late and you just want to go get some sleep, for example, that might be potentially problematic. And third, regarding the bathroom, for example, I mean, the bath is great. I have no complaints about it. The place, for example, where you take a bath is completely closed, so no one sees anything. It's very private. It's relatively large. Absolutely no complaints about it. But contrary to a hotel, you don't get like a mini shampoo and some lotion for cleaning your body, for example, some soap, some liquid soap. So you perhaps are supposed to bring it with you. No, you can argue that there is no problem in going out to the street and buying some from a supermarket. The problem is if you're arriving like 11 p.m. are going to find a nearby supermarket open. I would say most likely not. Yet, surprisingly, there were a lot of soaps and shampoos and even conditioning already available there at the bathroom. And I opted not to take a bath at the night I first arrived. I went to sleep without a bath because I had no soap. Uh, and I wasn't going to take what was there because I was afraid I was going to steal from someone else. And I asked at the reception, and people told me, no, that's just what people leave there. So those are people that came to the hostel and bought it, and then they left and they just left their shampoo there. And so, in the end, I would say that it was actually better than the hotel because at the hotel back in Rotterdam, I did not have conditioning, and here I did. Probably because some woman bought it and left it there. So from that very specific point of view, my experience at the hostel was actually better than the hotel. And a fourth point to also keep in mind is that since it's not a hotel, it's just a hostel, the amount of people working there is much diminished. It's much smaller. The living areas, for example, of the hostel are probably smaller than my room in the hotel in Rotterdam. What this means is that there isn't like a waiter or a waitress, for example, to serve your food or a cook to prepare your food. There's pretty much just one person at the entrance at the reception. And what this means in practical terms is that, for example, if you want to get breakfast and they don't have like at a hotel a self-service buffet, but you can order something. You can ask for them to make you some toast or some kind of sandwich or something like that. The problem is if they are checking in someone else, for example, you're going to have to wait for them to check in, and then you're going to have to order your food. So since there are very few employees, in practical terms, you get to wait a lot whenever you need something. So overall, I would say that the considerations are this. I'm not going to say necessarily that the hostel is less comfortable than the hotel. I believe that's kind of a bit obvious, but when you're going to sleep, it's definitely going to be much better than the plane. I'm definitely sure of that. And if you can sleep at the plane, then you can sleep at the hostel. But it's less practical. If you are really busy, for example, then it's probably a much better idea to just stay at a hotel. The hotel is more geared towards making things faster and more practical too. Like the breakfast already ready, you just arrive there and eat. The faster check-in, the fact there are a lot of employees ready for this or for that, that makes it all so much easier. I'm going to have to make a cut here because I need to check the map for directions. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the park on time. I'm a big fan of walking around, but sometimes things are a bit further away than they seem, especially in this like more medieval Renaissance time cities where everything's walkable. So usually like, okay, it's like only 7 kilometers away from here, but it takes like an hour. So instead, I'm going to do this recording from this large square of the museums. Back there, the Rijksmuseum and the Walden Park, that was pronounced is that way. Good, my tongue is freezing a bit. It's getting hard to pronounce the words, come on. So, in order not to miss the walking tour, I'm going to turn north instead, and perhaps I'll come back here later if it's not raining, or if the winds are not like 6 kilometers per hour. Okay, so this is bikes. Very important not to confuse bike lanes with pedestrian lanes in the Netherlands. And so, about the hostel, yeah, you do get to meet a lot of people. It's quite interesting, but do not expect to meet like tens of new people and make tens of friends. That is a bit unrealistic if not that. Because when I go to that part, I wonder if you're going to be able to understand me even with the microphone because the wind's strong. Let me close my coat so I can reach the microphone closer to me. And if you come on winter, almost make sure you have conspicuous amounts of tissue paper for your nose. But hello, this does happen sometimes, though not that often. And while you do meet a lot of people, this is the Van Gogh Museum. Uh, Most of the time, the living areas will be just using the Excel from the city, so it doesn't really work that way. So this is the side of the Rijksmuseum, and I'm going north. So on one side, I should get away from the stroke first. So the negative side, I wasn't able to get the park. But on the plus side, hey, gentle elderly citizen, a gentle elderly gentleman stopped me to ask for the Rijksmuseum. And do I look like someone who knows my way around the city? This happens to me sometimes. Well, sure, I am blue-eyed, and perhaps I do dress and style my hair a bit like an European would, but on the other hand, I am dark-haired, and I am a bit short for Dutch. This happened once in London as well, getting confused for a local. He was a man from Maastricht, this a city in the south of the Netherlands. Maastricht, I think that's it. And he went directions to Rijksmuseum. Fortunately, even though I don't know anything about this city, I was able to help him with the power of Google Maps. So I guess he wasn't wrong to seek me after all. After all, now I do have mobile internet, so just a quick search was more than enough. And here, the Rijksmuseum. This is the front or the back? Because I guess the front was that way. Come to end here and walk fast. So here I am at the dance square. This is the old town hall. Later converted into a royal house. And here the monument to the losses of the Second World War. So I did take one of those walking tours. I'm not going to show the people on the walking tour or the guard out of respect